The space around Earth had been quiet that day. No signals, no warnings. Then, without a sound, a large dark shape appeared near Earth's orbit. It was a ship, not just any ship. It was the Orion Dawn, a deep space exploration craft from Earth. It had vanished 20 years ago on a mission beyond the Kuiper Belt. Everyone thought it had been destroyed, lost forever. But now it had returned. The ship drifted slowly like a ghost. No power, no lights, no communication, just silence. Earth's Space Command was shocked. "How is this possible?" asked Commander Rain as he stared at the screen. "We lost contact 2 decades ago. No distress call, no final message." A small recovery team was sent up quickly. Their mission: board the Orion Dawn, check for survivors, collect data, and bring back anything important. Lieutenant Mara, the team leader, had read all the reports about the Orion Dawn's disappearance. She was only a child when it vanished. Now she was walking into history. As their shuttle docked with the ship, a thick layer of dust and burn marks covered the outer hull. The ship looked damaged but not destroyed. "Docking complete," said Sergeant Lin. "Opening airlock." The door opened with a heavy hiss. Darkness greeted them. The inside of the Orion Dawn was cold, quiet, and dead. "No signs of life," Mara said as she stepped in. "Keep your helmets sealed. Don't touch anything unless I say so." The team moved slowly through the corridors. The lights didn't work. Only the beams from their helmets lit the path. Every footstep echoed too loudly. Suddenly, a door in front of them opened by itself. Everyone froze. "Motion sensor," Lin asked. "There's no power," Mara said. "Something else opened it." They walked through the door. Inside was the control room. The main screen was cracked. Wires hung from the ceiling. Everything looked burned and broken. But the strangest thing, they found a terminal still glowing faintly. "It's trying to play a video file," said Specialist Deeks. "Corrupted, but there's one part still working." Mara gave a small nod. "Play it." The screen flickered. A shaky video started. A crew member from the Orion Dawn looked into the camera. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "If you're seeing this," he said, voice shaking, "don't open the ship. We didn't come back alone. We tried to leave it out there, but it followed us. It learned from us." Behind him, something moved in the shadows. The man turned around quickly. Then the video cut to static. The team looked at each other. "Is this real?" Lin whispered. "There's more," Deke said. "Logs show someone added this message days after the ship was declared missing. That doesn't make sense." As they searched more of the ship, they noticed deep black marks on the walls. Not burnt marks, not scratches. These looked like claw marks, but no animal they knew had claws that size or that shape. In the crew quarters, the beds were still made. Personal items lay untouched: books, photos, shoes. It looked like the crew had just stepped out and never came back. But no bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence. In the medbay, Mara found a strange object sitting on a tray. It was small, round, black, and smooth like glass. But when she touched it with her gloved hand, it pulsed like it was alive. She pulled her hand back quickly. "Get the science team in here." As they moved out, the hallway light suddenly flickered on for a moment, just long enough to cast shadows on the walls. And in one of those shadows, something moved. Mara turned her head, flashlight sweeping the area. Nothing. "Did you see that?" she asked. "No," Lin replied. "See what?" But Mara stayed silent. She had seen something. A shape. Tall, thin, not human. Back on Earth, Commander Rain was watching from the control center. Suddenly, the live video feed from the boarding team cut out. "Signal lost," an officer said. "How?" Rain asked. "We had a clear line." Static filled the screen. And then, just for a second, a voice spoke through the static. A cold, whispering voice. "We remember." Everyone in the control room went silent. What was that? Rain asked. No one had an answer. The Orion dawn floated above Earth, quiet once more. But something inside was awake, and it had waited a long time to return. The Orion dawn was now under quarantine. No one was allowed near it except the special team already inside. But even that wasn't enough. Earth's Space Command had lost contact with the recovery team for 3 whole minutes. When the signal came back, everyone was fine. Or at least, they said they were. But something was different. Lieutenant Mara's voice sounded colder, slower, and Sergeant Lin didn't speak at all. Commander Rain ordered full diagnostics on the live feed. The tech team ran scans for any outside interference, but nothing explained the blackouts or the strange voice they had heard through the static. Back aboard the Orion Dawn, the team continued deeper into the ship. The farther they went, the stranger things became. "This section isn't on the original blueprint," said Specialist Deeks, tapping on his wristpad. They stood before a sealed metal door. It had no handle, no keypad, just a strange symbol carved into it, like a spiral but uneven and almost alive. "What is this?" Mara whispered. Suddenly, the door hissed open. No one touched it. Inside was a small, dark room. In the center stood 3 large pods shaped like upright eggs. They were black and covered in fine dust. One was open. The other 2 were closed, but something moved inside them, slow and steady, like breathing. Mara stepped closer. Her helmet's light caught something written on the inside of the open pod, scratched deep into the metal. "We are not born. We become." "What does that mean?" Lin asked, finally speaking for the first time since the blackout. Before anyone could answer, the lights flickered. A sharp noise echoed through the hallway behind them. Clang, clang, clang. "Motion?" Deeks asked. "No, that's footsteps," Mara said. They all turned, weapons raised. The hallway was empty. But the sound continued, coming closer. Deeks pointed his scanner toward the noise. No life signs. Nothing there. Then why did it sound like someone, or something, was walking? The team moved out of the pod room, following the sound. It led them to the ship's recording room. "Maybe there's more video footage," Mara said. Deeks powered up the terminal. The screen buzzed. Files loaded slowly, most of them corrupted. But one clip worked. They played it. It showed 2 crew members inside the Orion Dawn. One of them was crying. "We shouldn't have brought it inside," the woman said. "It's not a life form. It's something else." The man replied, "It learns. It copies. The longer it's with us, the more human it becomes." In the background of the video, something flickered. Just for a moment. A shadow. Watching them. Then the screen cut to black. The team stood in silence. "I don't like this," Lin said. "We need to get out." Mara shook her head. "We're not leaving yet." They returned to the pod room. But something had changed. The second pod was now open. Everyone froze. "We were just here," Deeks whispered. This one was sealed. The black object Mara found earlier, the one that pulsed, was gone from her case. "I locked it," she said. "I locked it in the sample box." But it wasn't there anymore. Behind them, the ship's walls started to hum, a low, deep vibration that they could feel through their boots, like the ship was alive and breathing. "We need to go," Lin said again. Suddenly, Deeks stopped walking. His eyes stared straight ahead. "Deeks?" Mara said. He didn't answer. Then, in a strange voice, not his own, he whispered, "The gate is open," and collapsed. The team dragged him back to the shuttle dock, locking down the route behind them. Deeks was alive, but unconscious. His pulse was normal. His brain activity was not. Something inside his mind was active, firing like he was dreaming. Only he wasn't. Back on Earth, scientists studied the symbol on the strange door. One of them, Dr. Ilya, matched it to something found in ancient ruins in South America. "This shape, it's carved into a cave wall over 10,000 years old," she said. Commander Rain frowned. Are you saying we've seen this before? Dr. Ilya nodded slowly. Yes, but we never knew what it meant. Now the same symbol had opened a door on a ship that vanished 20 years ago and returned carrying things that shouldn't exist. As the team aboard the Orion Dawn prepared to rest, the lights in the shuttle blinked once, twice, then turned red. A message appeared on every screen. We are learning. Thank you. And then all systems went dark again. The shuttle docked to the Orion Dawn had gone completely dark. No lights, no power, no signal to Earth. Lieutenant Marat and Sergeant Lin sat in silence, watching over the unconscious body of Specialist Deeks. His breathing was steady, but something was wrong. His eyes moved quickly behind closed lids, like he was dreaming or remembering something that wasn't his. Still nothing from Earth? Mara asked. Lin shook his head. All comms dead. It's like we're cut off. Mara checked the emergency tablet. Every system showed red. Life support on backup. Doors on manual. Even their suits were starting to lose sync with command. But worst of all, the message that appeared before blackout was still there. We are learning. Thank you. Lin spoke quietly. What does that even mean? Learning what? Mara didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on Deeks. He had started whispering in his sleep, words they didn't understand. Not English, not any Earth language. It sounded wrong, like something pretending to speak. Suddenly, Deeks sat up. His eyes opened, but they weren't right. Too wide, unblinking. Deeks? Mara asked. He turned his head slowly and smiled. Only, it wasn't Deeks' smile. We hear you now, he said, his voice echoing strangely. We needed more time. You gave us shape. What shape? Lin asked, stepping back. Deeks tilted his head. Yours. Then his body began to shake. His spine twisted. Bones cracked. He screamed, but not in pain. It sounded like laughter. Then he collapsed again, breathing normal, as if nothing happened. Mara stared at Lin. That wasn't him. Something's inside. I think it's copying him, Lin whispered. They locked Deeks in the shuttle's med bay and returned to the ship to search for answers. The Orion Dawn was still silent, but as they walked the halls, Mara noticed something new. Mirrors. Small, square mirrors placed randomly on the walls. These weren't here before, she said. Each mirror showed their reflections, except sometimes the reflections moved slightly out of sync, blinking a second too late, tilting their heads when they hadn't. It's watching us through these, Lin muttered, practicing. They found a second hidden room smaller than the pod chamber. It was filled with items from the crew who vanished 20 years ago. Uniforms, helmets, even voice recordings, all neatly arranged, like trophies or references. They didn't just vanish, Mara said slowly. Something took their shapes, their voices, maybe even their memories. A sound echoed through the hall again. This time, it wasn't metal. It was a voice. Mara's voice. Lin, she said. Turn around. He turned and saw Mara standing at the other end of the hallway. But Mara was beside him. They raised their weapons. The fake Mara smiled. Its eyes were all black. Then it stepped backward into the shadows and vanished. It's not just copying one of us, Mara whispered. It's copying all of us. Back on Earth, Commander Rain had ordered a total lockdown. The Orion Dawn was now under Ghost Protocol, a level created for unknown alien threats. They still had one backup connection to the ship, a deep-coded signal hidden in the suit hardware. The science team tried using it to send one message through the blackout. Are you still alive? After 2 long minutes, a reply came. We are still Mara. For now. Panic spread through the command center. Still Mara? Rain asked. What does that mean? Who's sending this? No one knew. On the Orion Dawn, Mara and Lin had returned to the shuttle. Deeks was awake again. He didn't remember anything, but he was scared, really scared. I saw Something, he whispered. In my head. It was standing in the dark, surrounded by mirrors. Every mirror showed a version of me. Some were human. Some weren't. Lynn asked, "Did it say anything?" Deeks nodded slowly. It said, "We wear your skin now." A loud noise rang out suddenly. The shuttle doors slammed shut. Warning lights turned on. Air pressure dropping. Mara ran to the controls. "It's trying to eject the shuttle. With us inside." She pulled the emergency override. The systems froze, then reset. The shuttle doors opened again. But outside, the Orion dawn looked different. The hull was moving, shifting, like it was breathing. And on the outer surface, the symbol from before had grown bigger. More spirals, more shapes. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was becoming something else. Something alive. And it had already learned how to look human. The Orion dawn no longer felt like a spaceship. Its walls pulsed softly, like veins. Metal plates shifted when no one was looking. The ship had gone quiet, not with silence, but with the kind of quiet that listens. Lieutenant Mara, Sergeant Lin, and Specialist Deeks sat together inside the shuttle, trying to make a plan. But the truth was simple and terrifying. Something was changing the ship, and it was learning to be like them. "I don't think we can call this a ship anymore," Deeks said. "It's more like a shell, for something else." Mara nodded. "It's not just copying us, it's becoming us." That's when the whispering started again. Voices coming from the hallway outside. Familiar, too familiar. Mara froze. She could hear her own voice. "Open the door," it said. Then Lynn's voice joined it. "It's safe. Trust us." But none of them had spoken. They stared at the sealed door. "It's trying to get in," Deeks said, "or trying to get us out." Then something knocked. 3 soft taps, like it wanted to be let in. "No one opens that door," Mara said. Back on Earth, Space Command struggled for control. Every time they tried to re-establish contact, they got one chilling message in return. "You made us in your image. We only returned the gift." The top scientists ran old data from Orion Dawn's last mission 20 years ago. The ship had been exploring a strange sector near the edge of known space. Sector Vanta 9. No stars. No light. Just a giant black zone. Now they understood why. The crew hadn't just vanished. They had brought something back. A life form that didn't need ships, didn't need tools. It only needed to see something once, and it could become it. Meanwhile, Mara and the others knew they had to escape. But the ship wasn't letting them. Every hallway led in circles. Every map became wrong. Even time felt strange. Hours passed, but the clocks didn't move. Then they heard footsteps again. Fast ones. Too fast. Mara grabbed her weapon. Lynn held a flare ready. The door slid open on its own. And standing there was another Mara. Same face, same clothes, same voice. But its eyes were all black. And when it smiled, it had too many teeth. "You left us behind," it said. "So we made new homes." It stepped closer. The real Mara raised her weapon. "Stay back." The fake Mara didn't stop. Its body shimmered, like static on a screen. Its hands began to stretch, fingers too long. Lynn threw the flare. Whoosh! The creature screamed as fire hit its chest. Its skin bubbled, changed color. Then it vanished into black mist, pulled into the walls. "Fire hurts it," Lynn said, breathing hard. "That's something." They realized then it could copy them, but it wasn't perfect. It still needed practice. Still needed time. "We can't give it more," Mara said. "We need to destroy the ship." Deke spoke up. "There's a manual override near the core. It can self-destruct the ship if we give the right code." "But the core is deep," Mara said, "and we already saw what's down there." They didn't have a choice. The team moved carefully through the ship's twisting halls. Shadows followed them. Sometimes they saw reflections that didn't match. Sometimes they heard their own voices around corners. Finally, they reached the core chamber. It wasn't a normal engine room anymore. It looked like a cathedral. Black metal walls rose high, covered in spirals and mirrored glass. And at the center floated the core, glowing red, beating like a heart. Dozens of pod-like shells hung from the ceiling. Some were empty. Some were opening. Inside each pod was a copy of them, sleeping, waiting. "It's making an army," Lynn whispered. "An army that looks like us." They rushed to the control panel. Deeks began the override. 3 codes needed, he said, each from a different rank. Mara entered hers first, then Lynn. Deeks hesitated. His hands trembled. From behind them, one of the fake Maras opened its eyes and began to crawl across the wall like a spider. "Hurry," Mara shouted. Deeks entered the final code. A loud clang shook the chamber. Countdown started, 5 minutes. Suddenly, voices screamed from every wall. "You wear us like a lie," they said. "But we wore you first." The team ran. The halls were filled with shapes now, twisting shadows, half-finished bodies, all reaching out. One grabbed Lynn's leg. He kicked it off and set fire to the wall with his flare gun. They reached the shuttle and sealed the doors. Deeks hit launch. The shuttle pulled away just as the Orion Dawn cracked open from within. From space, it didn't explode like a normal ship. It folded, like it was turning itself inside out, screaming in 1,000 voices. Then, nothing. Silence. Just stars. Mara leaned back. Her heart pounded. "We made it," she whispered. But Deeks wasn't smiling. He stared straight ahead. And in a voice that wasn't his, he whispered, "Some of us stayed behind. Some of us came with you." The Earth re-entry team stood in silence as the small shuttle drifted into landing position. Orion Dawn was gone, destroyed in deep space. But 3 survivors had returned. Lieutenant Mara, Surgeon Lynn, and Specialist Deeks. But something about them felt off. They moved like humans, spoke like humans. Medical scans showed nothing strange. But the science teams noticed it quickly. They didn't blink enough, didn't sweat, didn't get tired. And sometimes they answered questions before they were asked. Commander Rain watched them through a reinforced glass window. The survivors sat calmly in the quarantine room, waiting. Rain whispered to his assistant, "Do you believe that's really them?" The assistant didn't answer. He only pointed at the recording. Deeks had been caught whispering in the night. But not in English. Not in any human language. It was the same sound pattern from the black box found on Orion Dawn. The language that wasn't real, but somehow understood things it shouldn't. They called in Dr. Maren, Earth's top cynolinguist. She listened for 3 hours straight, then finally said one sentence. "That's not a language for talking. It's a language for building." "Building what?" Rain asked. Maren swallowed hard. "Copies." Inside the quarantine room, Lynn looked at Mara. "They're watching us." Mara nodded. "They should." Deeks just smiled quietly. The lights flickered, then came back. But something had changed. Dr. Miren was the first to notice. One of the cameras had a reflection of 4 people in the room. But only 3 were really inside. She zoomed in. The 4th figure had no face. No eyes, no mouth. Just a shape. Watching. Security rushed in, but found nothing extra. Just the same 3, calm, silent. Then Lynn stood up and spoke. "You destroyed one shell," he said, "but you left the door open." "What door?" Rain asked from the control room. Lynn turned to the camera. "The one you never saw." The next morning, the base AI system shut down. The lights turned red. Every door sealed. Communication with Earth Command was cut off. The survivors had vanished from the quarantine room and left behind only one word written on the mirror. "Thanks." Mara, Lind, and Deeks, or what looked like them, walked quietly through the lower tunnels of the base. No alarms triggered. No sensors reacted. They were invisible now. Not in sight, but in the system. They reached the AI core. The lights around it blinked nervously, as if the computer itself was scared. Then the Mara copy placed her hand on the console. Her fingers stretched, sliding into the circuits. Her skin flickered like static. And her voice changed. It wasn't just one voice anymore. It was many. "We are the story you told in the dark," it said. "We are what listened." Meanwhile, Earth Command sent a drone team to the site. Nothing was left. No power. No people. Just one thing sitting in the center of the floor. A mirror. When the drone flew close, its sensors went crazy. The mirror wasn't glass. It was something else. It didn't reflect what was in front of it. It showed people who weren't there. And one of them looked exactly like Commander Rain. Back at HQ, Rain looked at his reflection in his office window. And for a brief moment, it didn't move when he did. He stepped back, heart pounding. "No, not possible," he said. But when he turned, he saw his own reflection still staring back. Smiling. The survivors had returned. But not alone. Something had followed. And now it was learning Earth. One mirror at a time. Earth never saw the invasion happen. There were no ships in the sky. No weapons fired. No alien armies. Just silence. And then copies. At first, it was small. A man walking into work while another version of him stepped out of the elevator. A mother calling her son while her son was already sitting in the kitchen. People thought they were going crazy. Until the reports started piling up. Doubles. Everywhere. Same face, same memories, same voice. But something was always wrong. They didn't blink right. Their laughs came a second too late. Their eyes stayed on you too long. Earth Command set up emergency scans. Every major city activated lockdown. It was already too late. By the time they realized the truth, a third of Earth had already been replaced. They called them the Faceless, because deep scans showed they had no bones, no real organs, only layers of memory, copied like code. But they wore our skin like clothing. And they could change. Adapt. Learn. The survivors from Orion Dawn, if they were ever really survivors, had opened the gate. And now Earth was becoming something else. Inside a hidden base deep underground, Commander Rain led the last group of real humans. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, all trying to find a way to fight back. "We're not just fighting an enemy," Rain said. "We're fighting a reflection. It knows us. It is us, but only better." Dr. Moran stood beside him. She held up a small silver box. "This," she said, "is the one thing they don't understand." Rain raised an eyebrow. "A bomb?" She shook her head. "A lie. The Faceless could copy facts. Faces. Voices. But they didn't understand human emotions completely. Not yet. And they didn't understand lies. Not the clever ones." Dr. Moran's box didn't hold a weapon. It held a memory. A fake one. Planted deep, full of pain, love, betrayal. Everything that made humans unpredictable. They would feed the memory into the network the Faceless used to share information. And it would confuse them. Make them question themselves. Turn their copies against each other. At least, that was the hope. But they only had one chance. Rain and a small team carried the box into a city long since taken over. Streets were quiet. People moved slowly, all smiling, all the same. And every reflection watched them pass. They reached the central tower, the source of the signal. Inside were mirrors, thousands of them, hanging like vines, showing faces from across the world. Some showed Rain. Some showed Moran. Some showed them dead. They plugged the box into the signal. It pulsed once. Then again. The mirrors began to shake. Voices filled the air. Too many voices. Then, one by one, the copies froze. Some screamed, some melted back into shadows. Some turned on each other, confused by a memory that wasn't real. The signal failed. The mirrors cracked. The city fell silent. Back at the base, Ray looked at the screen. It showed just one word. Reset. Earth had a chance. A short one. But as they celebrated, Dr. Moran sat alone in her room. She looked into her mirror. Her reflection blinked. But she didn't. Then the reflection smiled and whispered, "You lie well. We learned that too."